there. You just caught me trying to practice juggling some oranges. Yeah, these are Riverside Oranges here. And I'd like to take you on a little trip today. Last time I took you to the desert, and it was a little, well, it wasn't a little home, but it was a very humble home, let's say that much. But today, I think I want to take you to someplace special. But for that, I think we need to change the venue, so come along. Hello everyone, we are in front of an orange tree, which here in Riverside is very important. The orange tree here in Riverside is what created the city of Riverside. And today I thought it would be interesting to look to see what that orange tree created, or at least a little bit of what that orange tree created here in Riverside. So to do that, I need to go to a very special place. Welcome to Riverside's Heritage House. The Riverside Heritage House is a house that was established in 1891. You see, back in 1890, in 1880 the first orange trees came here to Riverside. But by 1890, Riverside had gotten rich from the humble orange tree. And by 1895, actually, Riverside was per capita the most richest city in the whole United States, all because of the orange tree. So today I thought it would be interesting to go inside of the Bettner house. So this house was built in 1891. Let's see what it would be like to live in the home of somebody who benefited from the great orange rush of the 1890s. In 1892, Catharine Bettner was a well-off widowed socialite in Riverside. She was known for entertaining at her house, but you couldn't just show up at the house. You had to be invited to a party or wait until she advertised for social visits in the local newspaper. When she did advertise that you could come calling and lay your calling card, which was a business card with your name on it, a social visit was like 10 or 15 minutes per visit. You would probably go to the sitting room and just talk by the fireplace. But maybe you could go into the music room and play some of the latest sheet music on the piano, or maybe even check out some 3D stereoscope images. The decor to the piano room is very Chinese influenced, as back then Chinese trade was just beginning to open up in Riverside, and so Chinese art was considered very vogue in Riverside in the late 1800s. Louis was Catharine Bettner's youngest son and died at the age of 22. After the death of her husband and son, it is speculated that she could no longer tolerate her family home and therefore built this home. The cost of construction was $10,755, which at the time was more than an average annual wage for the entire United States. The parlor room was for meetings that were a bit more formal or could be used for an afternoon tea. The design is neoclassical, which is a bit older than the Victorian age, but this room has more of the original furnishings than any other room in the house. Check out this wreath that is made with shells and seaweed collected at the ocean. I also enjoyed this coal-burning fireplace with its kind of Roman goddess mantle. Coal fireplaces were normal for this time. After visiting the parlor, we went to the dining room. The dining room was set up for a formal meal, but what struck me the most was the rich colors and the textured wallpaper. These round and square stands were fire screens and were used on cold days to protect those sitting closest to the fireplace. The little patio in the back was a smoking area since Miss Bettner didn't like smoke smell in her house. Mrs. Bettner was a little bit ahead of her time. She had heard of electrical lights and wanted them in her home, so she made sure that all of her lights would be retrofitted for wires, and therefore was one of the first homes in Riverside to be wired. Dining in this room was a formal affair and would have included a menu so you could properly remember all the things that you ate, and I assume brag about it later. Also downstairs was a writing room, with a writing desk and a table with interesting cards. They look kind of like our playing cards, but do you notice something different? I wonder which kind of game was played with these cards. My guess that it was maybe whist, which was popular at the time,
but no one is very sure. This area also had a music box, which works, but they don't play it because the guy who put it together retired, and if it breaks, they're afraid that nobody will be able to fix it again. Going up the stairs, you'll see a beautiful clock, and at the landing there was some pictures and trophies for some outdoor sports. The picture I enjoyed the most was that of the trick donkey riding, which I never really knew was a thing. Upstairs is also a bathroom, which for the time was very modern, having both a tub and indoor flushing toilet. Upstairs was Mrs. Bettner's personal library. She had a wealth of books on many subjects, as well as a writing desk where she would make her journals and a phonograph so that she could listen to music. The library goes to her bedroom, which is interesting. It has a typical bed for the day, but the bed was actually not hers. It was from the Jarvis family, which is another important Riverside family, but shown here so you can see what a matrimonial bed from the time looked like. This is a picture of James Bettner, who did not live in this house. He died in the year 1888 before the house was built, but was the one who grew all the oranges that paid for this house. He had a kidney disease and in his last years was rather weak. He probably used a chair like this. This chair was a kind of like a Victorian recliner. It was meant for handicapped people in that it kept them upright and was designed so that they could sit and be social without having to stand. Going down the hall, you get to the guest room. If you had guests from out of town, it was common back then for them to stay with you. Mrs. Bettner had her nieces come, and she would often host them and help them on their social journey, connecting them with the best social circles and parties. Further down the hall is the storage closet and the servants' quarters. Mrs. Bettner had a male Chinese servant, and although the accommodations were simple, this would be a job worth bragging about. And he did brag about this place in his letters back home, because he got to work in this big home and had his own space, which was a big deal back then for a servant. Downstairs there was a working party line and the kitchen, which was said to be modern for the times. The house has a bell service and secret doors so servants could rush to wherever they were needed. Out on the back porch, you can see the refrigerator, which back then would have been powered by a big block of ice that would be delivered to your home. Also on the porch was a washing machine and the good old washing board. Going into the backyard, you would have your carriage house and stable. You needed a carriage house to store your carriages and to take care of your horses. This is the end of our tour of Catharine Bettner's Victorian home, now known as Riverside's Heritage House. I hope you enjoyed this tour. The opening hours are very limited, only 12 to 3 p.m. during the school year. There is no cost to visit, but a $5 donation is suggested. The residence is still home to a number of social events today, including my favorite, an annual ice cream social. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the tour. And if you did, please like and subscribe. It does help the channel grow, and you share this information with other people that might also be interested in this historical information. Also remember that there is always a travel adventure out there. You just need to find it, and we will see you on our next travel adventure.